Welcome back to this Lash Pros podcast. I'm Charlotte Louise, your host, and today I'm going to be going through a lash mapping with you. So I'm going to be talking through the lash lamp I used for this gorgeous girl. So her natural eye is what I would call Almond Downturned. She had the highest point in the middle and then it did kind of drop. So we wanted to give her a gorgeous set that was going to lift her entire eye. So I went for what I would call an open/dole eye look, and this is the mapping I used. So to start off with, I found the centre point of her eye and I started drawing my map lines. Now my first two map lines were slightly off centre, and that is absolutely fine. That is because I wanted to lift the outer side of her eye a little bit more as it started to drop down. So I did that first map line just to the left of where her drop naturally happened. So to get into the lengths that I use, in the midpoint we went up to a 12 and we worked our way down to the outer to a 9 and the inner to an 8. Now I always go that little bit shorter on the inners just because you don't want, one, it touching your inner kind of eyebrow section, and as well, your natural lashes on your inner eyes are so delicate. You don't want anything too heavy because they will just drop or they will come off sooner. I think it also gives that gorgeous short to long look, not going too long in that very inner point. On this top layer, I personally think your first layer is what you see the most visible. So they were the lengths that I wanted to set in stone to kind of create that gorgeous shape that we wanted. We wanted that longest in the middle and then come down, so like a doll open eye kind of style. However, we did want to start lifting her outer side a little bit. We didn't want that to completely droop down or her end up not having the shape that we want to create. But for this top layer, I did that for her natural lash first and second top layer. So everyone has layers in their lashes. Some people have 2, some 3, some even 4. This client had 3. So for her natural first and second layers, I did this first map. Moving on to the final layer and the final map is where it kind of got a little bit different. So for the midsection, I worked down 1 point, which is what I would usually do, just to give that a little bit extra chop. When you move down a lash or even 2 lashes, it gives you more of like a definition, it gives you a little bit of a thicker lash line and that texture into the lashes as well. Going on to the left side is where I kind of did things a little bit different. So instead of just dropping 1, I dropped 2 for the next 2 sections. That's because her natural eye was already very lifted in that inner corner. So I just wanted to give it a little bit more texture. I didn't want to lift it anymore. Coming down to the final inner points, I left them as they were. I just continued through. That is because she didn't naturally have that many layers on those inner points. And as well, it wasn't really needed. I was happy with the outcome and the way that was going to look. Moving on to the outer sections, I dropped the next part down by 1 again, like I usually would. When I got to the very 2 outers, I did something a little bit different, something I wouldn't usually do. But for this particular client, I feel it was needed. So I then went back up 1. The reason I did that is because I wanted her to have a little bit more of a lift on the outer. Now, I put that on the lowest section because, as I said before, your bottom sections aren't as visible. They kind of give you more of the texture, whereas your top section is what I personally think is the most visible. So I didn't want to put the longest lengths on the top section because I didn't want her to end up having a cat eye or end up having where it went round and then basically straight. We created that gorgeous shape from the first layer, and the bottom layer was just basically giving us that extra texture and where I could really use it to my advantage to give her that lift, which is exactly what we created. So this is the eye to start with, and this is the map I used and our final creation. Let me know what you guys think on this map, whether you would have done the same, and also save it. Save it in case you have someone with an almond downturned eye and you're not really sure what map you want to go for. You don't want to droop their eye, you want to help lift it, but give them something natural at the same time. That is all from me, Charlotte Louise, on this podcast. I hope you found it useful. Make sure you save, like, and subscribe.